In the tropics, we do have Julia off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. Rain chance tonight dropping off. Coming back, some rain chance yet tomorrow, but high pressure still governing the weather. And mostly late afternoon, if any, thunderstorm activity, about 40% for tomorrow. Might notice a bit more cloud cover. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the afternoon in the 80s to near 90. It's about 20% tomorrow night. Friday into the weekend, about a 50-50 chance of thunderstorm activity. The 43rd Annual Broadmoor High Festival. Handcrafted items like original paintings, wheel-thrown pottery, wood carvings, toy furniture, lawn creations, cypress swings, ceramics, jewelry, and much more. Santa will be the special guest. Admission is $3 per person. Friday, November 18th, 4 to 9 p.m. Saturday, November 19th, 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. at Broadmoor High, Goodwood Boulevard, Baton Rouge. Vendor space is still available, but don't wait. Vendor space will go fast. Call 225-926-1420. Ralph Sanji, WGSO.
The last president of the United States of America.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily
You do 9/11 truth. No matter what you say, 9/11 truth. We'll never go. 9/11 truth. Never go away. We are 9/11 truth. Not until everybody knows the deal. Isn't that right, dear? We will be right here. We are 9/11 truth. This is not a gag or a spoof. There's undisputed facts, and baby, I got proof. 9/11 truth. Building 7 fell right from the roof. If you ain't aware of that, then you must be aloof. 9/11. It's obvious to the elders as well as the youth. To track down the killers, you ain't gotta be a sleuth. 9/11 gave the oligarch a big boost inside.
Battle of New Orleans Radio with your hosts Nathan Lawrence, Caleb Hitt, and Goyam on 990 WGSO.
In 1814, we took a little trip along the Colonel.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Battle of New Orleans Radio, right here, the home of the First Amendment, WGSO 990 AM in the heart of the Crescent City. I am Nathan Lawrence, along with fantastic co-host Goyam, like Payday says, Mr. Goyberg, and then we also have David Abity, I believe, on Skype. You on Skype, David? Yep, I guess.
David, are you there?
I believe I'm on Skype.
Yeah, how you doing, David?
I'm doing well.
I got you.
On the air with y'all.
Yeah, thanks, David. We really appreciate that, man. Wow, what another action-packed week of just incredible stories. But before we go any further, I want to, give a shout out for, the 15th anniversary that just passed of National Usurpation of Our Nation Day, otherwise known as 9/11. And we all know 9/11 was an inside and an outside job committed by elements inside our government, mainly the neocons, along with the Mossad, the CIA, and the Saudis. So this is what we're dealing with. And if you still believe the official narrative, you need your brain examined.
Yeah, and we have Dr. Jim Fetzer on later on tonight. Nathan.
Yeah, at 7:15, he's going to be...
Yeah, we were talking about a situation. If anybody's listening, I know a couple of people who follow us online. You can go check out on Facebook this Take 'em Down NOLA. We've been documenting the situation with the monuments. September 28, 2 weeks from today, is the final hearing between Professor Marksbury from Tulane and the court injunction. We're going to see if it's going to be upheld or not. Basically, in 2 weeks, we're going to find out if these monuments are coming down sooner than later or not at all. One thing that's a little scary is you're not hearing this from any other station but ours, any other show but ours. You're not even hearing this on any other shows on WGSO. You sure as not hearing it on WWL. They're not talking about the monuments anymore. They want everybody, focus on football, focus on what's going on with that. And again, if anybody's listening, you're on social media, check out the Take 'em Down NOLA Facebook page. This is basically a vigilante group, kind of chaotic group here. They're promoting an event tomorrow at the Christian Unity Church, 1700 Conti Street. And this is basically a group that says, look, if the monuments aren't taken down, we're going to take them down ourselves. It says on the Take 'em Down NOLA Facebook page, down with all monuments to white supremacy in New Orleans. Take 'em Down NOLA Facebook page. And they're having an event tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Nathan says he's going to go check it out.
Yeah, I want to try to go and infiltrate. I'm going to go be some infragold inside the system.
Yeah, and if anybody else wants to know more about it, again, Take 'em Down, TAKE, and then the EM, Down NOLA on Facebook page. Go check out what they are promoting and what they plan to do as far as the monuments and what they plan to do as far as 2 weeks from now, the hearing. This hearing in 2 weeks is going to be the final say on if these monuments are going to be preserved or not, or even injunction long enough for maybe people to realize what's going on. Right now, no one knows what's going on, right, Nathan?
No, that's right. They've been keeping us in the dark. The news really isn't talking about this very much. They're not taking these statues. They want to take them down, but we're not going to let them.
They said they're taking them down either way. They said, it says again here, down with all monuments to white supremacy.
White supremacy.
That's what they're saying.
Damn white people.
Civil War. And yeah, they said that's not what this, it's not about the Civil War. It's about white supremacy. And they said they're going to take them down in 2 weeks if it doesn't.
White people, y'all just need to kill yourself. I say y'all like I'm not white. I'm so sick of the self-hating. We got David over here on Skype. Looks like he's in the Blair Witch Project. I'm so sick of these people, just that self-hating, look, the monuments in the Civil War wasn't fought over slavery, people. It wasn't. So you need to understand that. It was fought over land. It was fought over control. It was fought over states' rights.
Yeah, and listen, Phil the Patriot, Richie, etc., if you want to come check this out with us tomorrow, it's going to be at the Christian Unity Church, 1700 Conti Street at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. This is Take 'em Down NOLA.
Zio Christian Church?
Something like that. They always put Zio in there. It's kind of weird. But anyways, go ahead, Nathan.
No, yeah, I'm going to do my best to make it, do some reporting on the whole deal. I'm going to try to go for a little bit. I mean, it's just crazy. We got to keep this issue front and center. We can't let them distract us with it. Look, we only got a couple minutes before we go to the break, before we bring on Dr. Jim Fetzer. And the remaining of the show after the segment is going to be pure 9/11. I mean, we see these instances with Hillary the last week, and even mainstream news is starting to question, is there a body double? Okay.
Body double.
LBJ had a body double. Many other people had body doubles as well.
The mass media is admitting it now, basically.
Yeah,
they're acknowledging it.
The Daily Mail, the Times of India. There's many other mainstream publications that are starting, to question and maybe. And I always try to look at it in a whole different light. Maybe it's some kind of psyop. What do you think on that, David?
I had a little technical difficulty there.
That's
talking about
the Blair Witch Project live.
The Facebook page. What were you mentioning
about
a second ago?
About the Hillary Clinton situation with
the
her
body
health and
double,
the body double possibility.
Oh, I haven't heard that, but it wouldn't be hard to drag out an old wrinkly wax doll and fool the people with it. And from that video, that could have been a mannequin or a puppet. I mean, like a literal, puppet. Her legs gave out, and the Secret Service had to, pull the marionette strings to pick her up and toss her into the side of the van. So, no, I haven't heard about the a real double.
Look up, David. Look up. You get time. Look up Hillary Clinton body double. It'll be Daily Mail, the Times of India. I mean, it's pretty mainstream publications now that are coming out with this.
And what are they distracting us from?
So this is is this the alt-right or is this
no? We know the Daily Mail isn't the alt-right.
Right. So they're saying that the Hillary Clinton campaign has a body double. That's interesting.
Yeah,
It really is. That's crazy.
She might very well be under some kind of MK Ultra mind control. For people who don't think that's real, it's declassified. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, he worked under MK Ultra projects. You can go read LA Times to fact check that. So look, they've had these programs out for a long time, and she really appears to be under some kind of mind control in my layman's opinion there. But look, we're coming to a break. I'm Nathan Lawrence. We got David Abity, the Blair Witch Project, and we got Goyberg over here, aka
Caleb
Goyam.
Hitt's not here.
Yeah, but look, Dr. Jim Fetzer, a world-renowned expert on 9/11 and JFK. You will get no better information on 9/11 or JFK than Dr. Jim Fetzer. I mean, for years he's been reporting on this stuff.
Feel free to call us.
The number is 504-556-9696. If you believe 9/11, the fake story.
Explain yourself. Call in.
Yeah, I got a bridge to sell you.
Got some ice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Battle of New Orleans Radio. Go hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Battle NOLA Radio. Be right back.
9/11 gave the oligarch a big boost. Inside job, anything else is uncouth. Why else would they try to...
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com. As the corporate media dies, MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
Whether you're in the real estate market to buy, sell, lease, or looking for someone just to manage your properties, look no further than Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties. She has 34 years experience and is an expert of all of the latest programs available to homeowners. She has been my trusted realtor for years now. So please call Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties at 504-858-9293. That's 504-858-9293. Renovations Your Way. They renovate to fit your needs with complete customer service from start to finish that goes way beyond the job. With over 20 years experience, and they are fully insured, and they support the Battle of New Orleans Radio to unite the metro area in the fight for liberty.
Visit us on the web at renovationsyourway.com or call me, Daniel, at 985-402-5916. That's 985-402-5916. renovationsyourway.com. Mention you heard about us on Battle of New Orleans Radio and receive a 10% discount.
Does your house have a clogged up toilet, faulty electrical wires, or AC or heater just isn't blowing properly? Well, call Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. Also specializes in new construction and covers the whole New Orleans metro area. So please, call our friend Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. That's 985-781-0418. Ooh-wee. Hey, David, that smell good. What you eating on?
Man, I'm eating on some shrimp I got from J&N Big Easy Seafood.
Man, I had to get me some of that.
Yeah, bro, they specialize in the delivery, catering of 20 pounds or more boiled or live shrimp, crawfish, catfish, crabs, frog legs, and much more.
And how do I get in touch with J&N's Big Easy Seafood?
Just call them up. Call 985-640-8822. That's 985-640-8822.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. You're listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio right here on 990 AM WGSO in the heart of the Crescent City. I'm Nathan Lawrence, and along with my great co-host, we have Goyam, David Abity on Skype. Now we would like to introduce, this is a terrific guest, and I thought it was imperative to bring this guest on because, the 15th anniversary of the national usurpation of our nation day, known as 9/11, just passed. So, this guest is just chock full of information. He just did a 9/11 Midwest conference that you can find on Gary King YouTube channel. I mean, it's great information. There's a ton of interviews on there. Go check it out. I'd like to welcome Dr. Jim Fetzer. I mean, he's an expert on JFK. He's an expert on 9/11. He wrote a great book dealing with Sandy Hook. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge. So, Dr. Fetzer, we really appreciate you coming on tonight and giving us your valuable time. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, terrific. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No, absolutely. We really appreciate it, Jim. Look, before we get started, Jim, because last time, you was on our show a month or so ago, this information hasn't come out at this point. I want to ask you about it because I think it's very important. The Pentagon, had some little accounting trouble again. $6.5 trillion. They can't account for it. It sounds just like the 2.3 trillion that vanished under the dual citizen, Mr. Dov there in 2001, and then another $2 trillion, I believe, in 2004. So we're up to almost $11 trillion that is lost in the Pentagon's couch cushions, like a couple quarters and some nickels there. I mean, what's your take on that, Jim?
This is a complete obscenity. I mean, the American people are being ripped off. How can we have, responsible government if they're squandering massive sums of taxpayer money? I think somebody deserves to be impeached or tried and strung up for treason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous, Jim, because, they claim our debt's at 19 or 20 trillion, even though we know it's way higher than that. I mean, if you account for the quadrillions of dollars on signed on derivatives that we've been signed on to, it's just insane, though, that really this $11 trillion that has vanished from the Pentagon, if you believe this phony debt number, that's almost half of our debt. Man, we'd be sitting a lot better, wouldn't you think, Jim?
Oh, needless to say, absolutely. And, that money has gone somewhere. We don't know where it is, but somebody knows where it is. Somebody's been ripping us off big time.
Yeah, right. Not only do we have the trillions that are missing, I mean, it's the same way, we're paying for all these foreign nations' defense systems. I won't name a nation. We'll fill in the blanks there. We're sending all these billions of dollars to this nation, and this nation really does not respect us.
They're our greatest ally.
Well, when it comes to 9/11, this nation played a leading role. In fact, it was its present prime minister who had the fertile imagination to come up with a scheme for 9/11 in order to draw the United States into endless wars in the Middle East to take out the modern Arab states that served as a counterbalance to Israel's domination of the entire region. That's what it has all been about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they want to, they want to make that Rabbi Fishman map come into play there.
Well, they're clearing out these lands, Jim. You see the situation with the relocation plan. We talked about it for months on the show, clearing out Arab lands once and for all for the Zionist blueprint. And I guess they're injecting them into Germany and all the Axis powers as payback for World War II. What's your take on that possibility?
You mean the refugee crisis?
Yeah, is this some kind of sick and twisted?
That's very, very interesting. Another way of cleaning out the population for the expansion to become the greater Israel of Zionist aspirations all the way from the Tigris, Euphrates to the Nile. That's a very astute observation.
Yeah, and then the back end of that, the double-edged sword is they're paying back their enemies from World War II.
I'm gonna make this statement, and then maybe we can get into some of this, this 9/11 news. Maybe we can get into some of your presentation, Jim. Is that everybody wants to blame the Muslims, and it's cool to say, let's nuke them, let's turn them into a glass parking lot, and all of this stuff. And, they want to blame the Muslims, that are being shipped in here. But then I start trying to explain to some of these people, like, wait a minute, these Muslims aren't in power of the EU. The EU is ran by these multinational banks, the IMF and the World Bank. And you look who sits on the board of these banks, similar to Mr. Donald Sutherland, who's over the EU's migration process. These people who are running and opening the doors aren't Muslims. They happen to have these last names that sound like Bergs and Steins. They don't sound like Abdul or Muhammad.
It's like reading the Schindler's List.
Well, there's a whole lot going on here. I mean, the historical revisionism is extraordinarily important because what we were told about the end of World War II doesn't bear any resemblance whatsoever to the facts of the matter. Where I have myself done research, and Nick Kollerstrom of the UK has published an absolutely brilliant book entitled Breaking the Spell, where it turns out that according to the best records we have, the total number who died in the various camps was like 297,081, and none of them, where the International Committee of the Red Cross was keeping meticulous records, none of them died from being put to death by gassing. In fact, there's a fascinating study by Robert Foresson, who has been one of the leading experts in gaining a clear understanding of what actually happened at the end of World War II, entitled the Zundel, Z-U-N-D-E-L trials, 1985 and 1988. Where he reports that when this man Ernst Zundel, whom I have interviewed, who was a Canadian who died, who denied the official account of the Holocaust, was put on trial, the prosecutor could not find a single witness who could testify to having seen anyone put to death in a gas chamber. And during the second round of trials 3 years later, they produced an expert by the name of Lochter, who in gas chambers, who'd been flown over to examine the facilities and who explained in meticulous detail that they were completely unsuitable for the purpose of having functioned as gas chambers, blowing the whole thing out of the water.
That's crazy. So what you're insinuating is that if the Holocaust,
hoax,
if it's a hoax, or as people say, they deny it, or whether it be
they might put you in jail. You might want to watch out, Goyim.
I'm not. I'm saying if someone
might go to prison for denying the Holocaust.
No, I'm saying if someone
did. In other countries, we haven't reached that point yet.
Oh, we're working on
it. In the United States, but the influence of Israel on our Congress is so vast.
AIPAC.
In fact.
Hey, Jim, hold that thought. We're coming to a break.
Yeah,
look, ladies and gentlemen, we have Dr. Jim Fetzer on the line with us.
Feel free to call in.
Please call up 504-556-9696. I'm Nathan Lawrence, along with Goyim and David Abity. We come back. We're going to get into a lot of this 9/11 information for everybody that still believes the official narrative, the official story. You need to have your temperature checked. So I'm telling you, Dr. Fetzer will dispel any of your notions there. So look, you got any questions? Call up 504-556-9696. You're listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio. Hey, thank you, Mr. Gary King. I appreciate you, brother. God bless. Listen to Battle of New Orleans. We'll be right back.
So there's been a lot of talk about tax credits and solar systems over the last couple months. At Posigen, you don't have to worry about the tax credits. We take care of that. Our solar lease and energy efficiency program is guaranteed to save you money. At Posigen, there's no down payment, no credit required. Everyone's approved. All you do is give us a call at Posigen, 504-835-2510. 504-835-2510. Let us come out to your house, show you how we can start saving you money today. Give Posigen a call or look us up at www.posigen.com.
What does grace mean to you? For Grace at the Green Light, it means everyone deserves the chance to go home again. Everyone deserves a hot meal in a clean indoor setting. Grace at the Greenlight serves the homeless in New Orleans. We have served over 40,000 meals and sent over 450 men and women home to be reunited with their families. Thanks in part to the support of our sponsors: Christ Church Cathedral, Emery and James Limited, Fat Bankers Social Aid and Pleasure Club, Faubourg Private Wealth, First NBC Bank, Kushner LeGrays, McGee School, McMath Construction, Orland Berry LLC, Perrier and Lacoste, and Seiler Tucker. You can help and make a difference too. For information on donating or volunteering, call 504-239-4544, 504-239-4544, or visit graceatthegreenlight.org.
Hi, I'm Rob Clemens with saintsforsinners.com. Tune in at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings for our radio show on WGSO Radio. We'll be covering the lives of the old age saints with stories of hope, courage, faith, and love, as well as any other topic imaginable. Saints for Sinners. I'm Rob Clemens with saintsforsinners.com. 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings on WGSO.
Louisiana Radio Network News, I'm Halen Doty. Baton Rouge Congressman Garrett Graves says getting the flood aid package approved will be an uphill battle. Michelle Southern has more.
The Obama administration has sent a $2.6 billion request to Congress. Graves says they're running out of time to get it passed before they recess at the end of the month.
The reality was that this request should have been sent last week.
And Graves says some members of Congress don't want to spend any money, but it'll cost something either in recovery efforts or foreclosures and bankruptcies. He says there's other states that also experience disasters that want assistance as well.
As soon as folks hear disaster, their eyes light up and they want to get added to this thing too.
I'm Michelle Southern.
Congressman and Republican Senate candidate Charles Bustani says allegations that he was involved with prostitutes who were killed in Jefferson Davis Parish are completely false. The accusations are contained in a new book about the murders. Bustani also blames one of his opponents, State Treasurer John Kennedy, for spreading the lies. That's some of what's making news this hour on the Louisiana Radio Network.
At Mueller, we believe in value. Our Value Plus buildings are pre-engineered and feature an easy-to-assemble, bolt-together design. Mueller's durable roofing panels are hail-resistant and come backed by a 30-year limited paint warranty. But true value never stops at just a quality product at a reasonable price. It shows in the service you receive during your purchase and in how a company stands behind their product after the sale. We understand that buying a steel building or metal roof for your home can be a lifetime decision, and Mueller will provide assurance before, during, and for decades after your purchase. At Mueller, you simply get more. More for your money, more confidence in our company, which gives you more value. We're here to serve the people of Louisiana. Call 877-2-MUELLER or visit us online at MuellerInc.com. That's MuellerInc.com.
This is Jeff Cruier with my commentary of the day. So Hillary Clinton has just made a very damaging statement to her campaign, calling half of Donald Trump's supporters part of a, quote, basket of deplorables, categorizing millions of Americans as racists and homophobes and Islamophobes. Trump may get 70 million votes in the fall, so she's basically making that claim about 35 million Americans. No wonder she apologized. You know who's really deplorable? Bill and Hillary Clinton. Deplorable for their lying, deplorable for their abuse of women, Bill for his philandering and sexual misconduct, and Hillary for attacking the women that came forward. It's deplorable that they haven't helped African Americans, deplorable that they've used minorities for political support but done nothing for them, deplorable that they've taken money from regimes who mistreat gays and women, and it's deplorable that she's even a candidate for office and not in prison. More info on this and the other hot topics of the day, check out ringsidepolitics.com.
Prices are for base buildings only and may not be available in some areas. This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. So call General Steel now for the quality and the price in a pre-engineered steel building that you just can't beat. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How much can you save? How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $35,000? So don't pay thousands more than than you should without calling General Steel first. Call 866-95-STEEL today and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. Don't let rising steel prices put your project in jeopardy. Call now to lock in your price for 3 months. Call 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-95-STEEL. Don't spend thousands more than you should. Call 866-957-8335.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
And that was Body Double from Lillian Axe, a New Orleans rock and roll band, referencing Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, no doubt.
Check out the song.
I want to say this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Fetzer, and we can start getting into some of this 9/11 information. A lot of people don't know we were talking about the Holocaust and these make-believe 6 million numbers.
If it's real or not, I'm not saying one way or another, but Dr. Fetzer, what is the point? If it is...
Hold up, Goem. I want to say this before you ask Dr. There was 100,000 Jews in Hitler's army. People don't realize that. 100,000. Well, I thought Hitler just killed all the Jews.
Well, I mean, listen, was the point of this possibility of a fake story to preserve the long-term benefit of Israel? Because I just saw on TV today, we just announced we're giving $38 billion, Dr. Fetzer, from the United States government to Israel. So we're protecting them forever and ever because of the Holocaust?
No, it was the other way around. The whole Holocaust story was to justify the creation of Israel.
Okay.
We have 236 references to 6 million Jews in dire straits or fear of loss of their lives in the international press, beginning in 1890, all before the Nuremberg tribunals. The number has no historical basis, as I've already implied. In fact, Nick Kollerstrom in his book compares the numbers of the International Committee of the Red Cross with those of the British death books, because they had cracked the German code. And the Germans, being so meticulous, were keeping very detailed records about everything they did, including the camps, which were actually labor camps. These weren't concentration camps. They were using Zyklon B to kill body lice because it was responsible for the spread of typhus and dysentery, and you can't get work out of a corpse. So they were doing delousing using Zyklon B, but it wasn't to kill anybody, and in fact, they didn't actually have the facilities to have functioning gas chambers. It turns out the whole number is theological in origin and derives from a disputed passage in Leviticus that has been interpreted as meaning that the chosen people can return to the promised land only when they're minus 6 million who have been consumed in the flames. But even the number 6 million requires an interpolation because there was nothing in the original Hebrew, no word in the original Hebrew for 6 million. But that's the origin of the story. I published about it, by the way, if anyone wants to go further on this, since we're going to be talking about 9/11, it's entitled The Holocaust Narrative, Politics Trumps Science. The Holocaust Narrative, Politics Trumps Science, which you can find online. And indeed, in my first book with Moonrock Books is entitled, And I Suppose We Didn't Go to the Moon Either. And I have there 4 chapters on the moon landing, 4 chapters on the death and replacement of Paul McCartney, 2 on the first death of Saddam Hussein, 2 on the second death of Osama bin Laden, and then 4 chapters by world-class experts on the Holocaust. So
Flat
that's
Earth.
something else to consider.
Interesting. What happened to Europe after World War II? I mean, whether it be the destabilization, you're seeing it now in 2016, it almost looks like a payback, but I guess the same thing happened with the communist regime, the Bolshevik Reds.
Tell me exactly what you mean. See, Forson points out that the Allies had undertaken this massive bombing campaign against German cities and just, murdered vast numbers of German citizens. This was actually a war crime. During the bombing, they interdicted the supply line. So while it was not the policy of the Third Reich to put the prisoners to death, because the Allies had interdicted the railroad lines, they were unable to resupply them. and it wound up that there were quite a few who died from starvation as a consequence.
So in a way,
the Allies, in order to divert this, they brought in a Hollywood producer who shot a lot of film footage and then cut it all down and used a tiny percentage to make a case that the Germans had been, exterminating all these Jews in the camps, which wasn't the case.
So Judea declared war on Germany in a way.
That was in 1933.
Yeah, you saw that. You ever seen the clip, the news clip for that? Yeah.
Most of the world isn't aware of that.
Yeah, the famous news clip, somewhat famous.
Yeah, no doubt. 109 times. That's all I'm going to say. Look, Dr. Fetzer.
Listen. You had an ad there. I want to give you guys breaking news. I've been discussing it with Jeff Rentz. I've done several shows about it. I was on a local talk show here. But you all know about Hillary's collapse after the 9/11 event, right?
Sure.
And you've undoubtedly seen the footage of coming out of the apartment where she's waving and looks so cheerful.
Right, and there's nobody around her for like.
Listen to me. That is not Hillary Clinton.
No, I agree.
Body double, like Lillian Axe says. So what's going to happen? Go ahead.
You got to understand what I'm saying here. She's 6 inches shorter than Hillary. She weighs 35 to 40 pounds less than Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
She looks at least 10 years younger. There's more to it. You're absolutely right. If it had actually been Hillary, she should have been surrounded by her Secret Service and by her personal physician. Chelsea should have been there with her and all that. They put up a body double for Hillary to fake the American people. In my opinion, this nullifies the entire Clinton campaign because they're faking it.
So who are the globalists gonna replace her with?
Well, that's the question. Now, they've had an emergency meeting, which wouldn't be necessary if
Bohemian Grove
from a very serious problem. We had a professor of medicine who had concluded from studying Hillary's medical records that she would die within 1 year. That's on my blog. If you go to jamesfetzer.blogspot.com, the first two blogs are also the Midwest 9/11 Truth Conference, where you can actually find, bio sketches of each of the speakers on my blog, the first two blogs. But the third is a professor of medicine predicts that Hillary will not live more than a year. And frankly, I think that she may already be dead.
So who do you think is going to die first, Hillary Clinton or the person who shot that footage of the body double?
I'm telling you, I think Hillary may already be dead.
Yeah, kind of like Bin Laden there. When they reported he died back in 01 and 04, and then
he died on 15 December 2001. Yeah,
right.
And it was buried in an unmarked grave. He died in Afghanistan. He had suffered all these medical problems, but most people don't know he was our man in Afghanistan. He was working for the CIA.
Tim Osman.
Dr. Fetzer.
Tim Osman, that's right.
Dr. Fetzer, I know we're jumping from subject to subject. We're goofing off a little bit. What's the connection between Saudi Arabia and Israel? It seems like we're destabilizing, whether it's the globalists or United States military on behalf of the globalists, we're destabilizing all these countries, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran next. It just, everyone's getting touched, but they're not relocating any Muslims to Saudi Arabia, even though they have
Israel.
Or Israel. Israel has a wall.
Golden Dome.
They're allowed, yeah, exactly. They got 38 billion coming from our dole. And what's the connection between Israel and Saudi Arabia? And why is it they're kind of preserved and protected from all this? Whether it be the connections to 9/11 with Israel and Saudi Arabia, but also now with the relocation plan.
Well, it looks as though at this point they're throwing Saudi Arabia under the bus.
What?
I mean, all this 28-page business,
Yes.
passing a law that would allow Americans to sue Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that was the smokescreen.
Which Obama is threatening to veto. But it got the Saudis so pissed that they actually published in the Saudi press, all the wise people in the world who are experts on American policy who analyze the images and the videos of 9/11 agree unanimously that what happened at the Twin Towers was a purely American action planned and carried out within the U.S. That was in the Saudi Arabian press. They're so ticked off about this. And I actually put it on the back of the book, America Nuked on 9/11, which I just published also at moonrockbooks.com, which is 458 pages. It's got 338 photographs. It's divided into 8 major sections of 3 chapters each in reverse order. 9/11 limited hangouts, the myth of nanothermite, the 9/11 crash sites, the Pentagon, what didn't happen. New York was nuked on 9/11, what happened on 9/11, and 9/11, who was responsible and why, parts 1 and 2. The 3 chapters each that has a preface, a prologue, an epilogue, and an afterword with an index. Moonrock Books. And we keep the price of all these books low because we're trying to get the truth out. So that runs $20. That's like a couple of sandwiches at Arby's and fries and a milkshake, which you digest, and then donate to the National Trust in about 24 hours. Here you'll have a book in your hands that is a repository of this is the most thorough, detailed, well-documented. I have 15 contributors, experts on different aspects of 9/11. This is the book you want to get about 9/11.
Wow.
And Dr. Fetzer, where's Larry Silverstein at now? What's his situation? I'm just curious to know. I know he came out smelling like a rose after the World Trade Center went down.
He's still rich, fat, and happy. He actually recently admitted that the design for the new World Trade Center 1 was drafted in 2000.
Now, why wouldn't he change his name? You know, obviously that's a Jewish last name, but you've seen George Soros change his name to Soros, his real last name Schwartz, and Jon Stewart from The Daily Show changed his last name from his real Jewish name, Leibowitz. Is there so much name changing going on, and why hasn't Silverstein done that as well?
Well, I suppose you'd have to ask him.
I'd love to.
But many, it would appear, want to, lower the profile of the Jewish domination of the American media, the American press, American politics. Cynthia McKinney, as I was starting to explain, actually recently observed that when new members of Congress come to Washington, they're asked to sign a pledge to put the interests of Israel ahead of those of the United States. And those who do not sign find themselves confronted with a well-financed alternative candidate, or perhaps that their district has been redrawn. And your point about money, foreign policy money to Israel, is not only well taken because Israel has been running our government. I mean, this is an outrage, but because Israel has a vast undeclared stock of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons.
No doubt.
Our own foreign policy guidelines say we may not send foreign aid to countries that have undeclared stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction, which is the case for Israel, and we're sending it anyway.
Right, no doubt. Look, Dr. Fetzer, we're coming to a break. Listen to Battle of New Orleans Radio. Look, when we come back, we're gonna start getting into Dr. Fetzer's conference and some of the information on 9/11. But look, please go support him. Go to Moonrock Books. I plan on buying that book. It should be a great one to have in your collection. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to Battle of New Orleans Radio. Please support us, because I promise you, you will not hear this information on any other controlled media. You're not allowed to, because the controllers do not want the veil to be unlifted. All right? Free yourself. Free your mind. Tune in. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
Can I get with 2.3 trillion? When does a citizen become a civilian? When did the heroes morph into the villains? How can 2 planes powderize 3 buildings? These are questions that could get you.
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com. As the corporate media dies, MetroNail.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
Whether you're in the real estate market to buy, sell, lease, or looking for someone just to manage your properties, look no further than Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties. She has 34 years experience and is an expert of all of the latest programs available to homeowners. She has been my trusted realtor for years now. So please call Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties at 504-858-9293. That's 504-858-9293. Renovations your way. They renovate to fit your needs with complete customer service from start to finish that goes way beyond the job. With over 20 years experience, and they are fully insured, and they support the Battle of New Orleans Radio to unite the metro area in the fight for liberty.
Visit us on the web at renovationsyourway.com or call me, Daniel, at 985-402-5916. That's 985-402-5916. renovationsyourway.com. Mention you heard about us on Battle of New Orleans Radio and receive a 10% discount.
Does your house have a clogged up toilet, faulty electrical wires, or AC or heater just isn't blowing properly? Well, call Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. Also specializes in new construction and covers the whole New Orleans metro area. So please, call our friend Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. That's 985-781-0418. Ooh-wee. Hey, David, that smell good. What you eating on?
Man, I'm eating on some shrimp I got from J&N Big Easy Seafood.
Man, I have to get me some of that.
Yeah, bro, they specialize in the delivery, catering of 20 pounds or more boiled or live shrimp, crawfish, catfish, crabs, frog legs, and much more.
And how do I get in touch with J&N's Big Easy Seafood?
Just call them up. Call 985-640-8822. That's 985-640-8822.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Battle of New Orleans Radio. Before we get to Dr. Fetzer, we're going to take this call real fast. We have Kevin from Metairie on line one. Go ahead, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
You're speaking with Dr. Fetzer.
Yeah. Hey, hello to you all. Hello to your guest.
Thank you.
You know, I believe in the Bible, and
right.
I know I deal with a lot of different Christians, and I do not believe that modern-day Israel has any significant part to play in end times prophecy fulfillment or anything such. I don't. And one of the main reasons, I have a few reasons, but one of the main reasons is this, and I try to tell Christians this, and I get nowhere with them.
Well, Zio Christians.
There is not one example in all of the Bible where God has returned Israel, has gathered Israel back to the land after he had scattered them for disobedience, where they did not first repent. You know, Solomon said they need to repent, they need to turn to him with all their heart, then he will heal their land. Then he will, make them his own again. There is not one instance in all the Bible where Israel returned back to the land after they were scattered without them first repenting. Now, why do Christians insist that Israel, the people that occupy the land of ancient Israel today, are Israelites or are God's chosen people, and believe that God had a hand in returning them there, when they, to this day, refer to Christ as the great imposter?
They hate Jesus. They hate Christians.
Yeah, you ever heard what Sarah Silverman says? Go ahead. Yeah, you got a good question. I mean, yeah, like everyone said, like Sarah Silverman says, supposedly Jews killed Jesus, I'd do it again. I mean,
right.
The hatred, the people don't realize, a lot of Christian Zionists, like you said, the Protestants, the Bible thumpers, they don't realize that your typical Orthodox.
They call us goyim. They call us animals.
They call us cattle, animals used for usury, and people don't realize
they
that.
refer to Jesus as the son of a whore. I mean, this is outrage.
He was burning in excrement, correct?
The Anti-Defamation
in the Talmud.
League, the AI, APEC, these organizations are involved with promoting the homosexual agenda in America, promoting the filth of Hollywood, promoting the degradation, the dumbing down of our educational system, through, behind the scenes means. And yet, these things they will not allow in their own country.
But they're smart. They're benefiting from this because a small minority, people ask, like, how does a small minority gain so much control? By pushing these agendas through the media and controls in the central bank, you're able to. Go ahead, Nathan.
No, I just want to say, look, Kevin, these are all terrific points, and I want Dr. Fetzer to answer this. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, what is the question?
No, I know he's made some great points. I just wanted to see if you had any.
But see, I'm an agnostic. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe it's possible to prove that God exists, but it's also not possible to prove that God does not exist.
I understand. Like flat Earth.
I mean, I'm a professional philosopher. I'm a philosopher of science. I taught logic, critical thinking, and scientific reasoning for 35 years.
So Dr. Fetzer, I guess a question for you would be...
I have gone through all the arguments about the existence of God and the like, and believe me, it's impossible to prove. That's why it's an article of faith. You believe it in spite of the fact that you don't have any evidence.
Kevin, are you still there?
Sure.
Listen, listen. I think on behalf of what Kevin said, a question I'll pose to you on behalf of what Kevin said is this, Dr. Fetzer. If Christian Zionists or Protestants who are like, they're the chosen ones, we got to do anything we can for Israel no matter what, even if that means killing and maiming Muslim children, we got to do whatever we got to do it. What's your take on the situation where Christian Zionists have been co-opted to do the dirty work for Israel, it seems like, with these Middle Eastern wars and whatnot, and now what looks like to be a relocation plan?
A lot of this has to do with an apocalyptic vision that there's going to be the war to end all wars, and Christ is going to return for the second coming thereafter. I mean, I do not believe this, but there are a lot of people who do, and because of that, they think that Israel has a special role to play. And in my opinion, it's all very dubious, but I know you have a lot of members of your audience who believe it, so I don't know.
Maybe, hey, Dr. Fetzer, maybe the book of Revelation is being co-opted too. They're reading the holy book of the Christians, and they're saying, if we follow this playbook, this is really going to freak out these little Bible belters when this stuff starts coming to fruition, when we put it into play.
There are a lot of subjects on which I am expert, but theology is not among them, and most certainly not an apocalyptic vision. I do think that it's a mistake to regard Israel as such a special country that we should defer to Israel, that we should not adhere to the normal laws and principles with which we deal with other countries because of Israel. Israel plays far too big a role in running our Congress. Just as Cynthia McKinney was explaining, there was a brilliant professor from Harvard and another from Chicago that published a big book about the Israeli lobby. And would you believe the influence of Israel? I mean, it just demonstrated how Israel has been running our Congress for decades. And would you believe they were attacked? Instead of praising them for exposing the corruption of our system, they were attacked. It's that bad.
Yeah, no doubt. They're the most powerful lobby in Washington. Look, I swear, when we come back after this break, we're getting into 9/11. We keep getting so sidetracked. Look, that's it. Look, callers, if you call up, it's 9/11. That's it. This is the 15th anniversary of the national usurpation of our nation day, known as 9/11. So look, let's stick to 9/11 and let's stick to topic. We have a great guest, Dr. Jim Fetzer. Please, you can check out his books at Moonrock Books. You can check out his great conference he just did.
Call in.
Yeah, call up 504-556-9696. It's got to be on topic, though. If you're not on topic, I'm sorry.
Explain to us how Tower 7 came down. No plane. Explain where the wreckage is. Call us up and let us know. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
Already of the Rockefeller Foundation, 1,000 points of light, non-governmental organization. All that tyranny could be summarily dead in one fell swoop if you end the Fed. That's what I said.
As the corporate media dies, MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
Ken Trahan with Ashton Ryan, President and CEO of First NBC Bank.
We are a name that all in Southeast Louisiana recognize and trust.
That trust has been built over many years with solid, dependable service.
We support worthy causes in our community and champion the cause of small businesses and their owners.
First NBC Bank is on the North Shore in Bayou Country and now beyond Louisiana.
We've expanded to the Florida Panhandle, serving customers in Florida as we've always done in Louisiana.
Thanks, Ashton.
Thank you, Ken.
That's First NBC Bank with 39 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and Florida. Visit us online at firstnbcbank.com.
What are you doing to stop traffic when your business is ready to wow the pants off customers? Visit Sir Speedy. We produce quality signs, posters, banners, and more that are just a trick for trade shows, promotions, events, and product launches. Whether you're taking it to the street, the floor, or the counter, bigger is always better. For more information or to get a quote, go to SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com.
Hi, I'm Dickie Brennan, and I'd like to invite you to our new Black Duck Bar located on the second floor of Palace Cafe. Rum is the chosen spirit of Palace Cafe's Black Duck Bar and features an extensive rum collection from all over the world. Be sure to join us for happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., with half-price small plates, local draft beer, and tap wine. Look forward to seeing you soon at Palace Cafe's new Black Duck Bar.
Newsmakers, sports, opinions, and your calls. Catch Inside New Orleans with Eric Asher Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM New Orleans.
The United States Congress has failed to do that. There is more that Congress should do.
White House spokesperson Josh Earnest is acknowledging concern about whether Russian hackers are trying to influence the November elections. Major Dave Thomas with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office said Joe Schreiber was arrested today after community tips poured in.
I'm proud to stand here and announce that this afternoon, a Joseph Michael Schreiber, 32 years of age, was arrested in the 100 block of Depot Drive in Fort Pierce today.
He was seen on surveillance tape running from the mosque after the fire started. Schreiber will be charged with hate crimes and first-degree felony arson. This is USA Radio News. News 24/7 at usaradio.com.
Have you ever come home from work to find out that the power's out? You reach the power company and they inform you that it'll be out for another 8 hours. Panic sets in. You've been told to prepare for this before. Bottled water, radio, flashlight, easy to prepare meals. And for the next 8 hours, everyone is on edge. No AC, no TV, no hot dinner tonight. What will happen to your family if this same situation were to last 2 days, a week, or even a month? This is Colonel Rusty Humphreys to tell you about Heaven's Harvest. Heaven's Harvest has long-term storable food and water products that will ensure your family's well-being through any man-made or natural disaster. Don't wait for the power to go out. Go to heavensharvest.com and secure your family's well-being today. That's heavensharvest.com or call 800-516-4773. Again, 800-516-4773. Heavensharvest.com. Use promo RUSTY and receive free shipping. Heavensharvest.com. That's heavensharvest.com.
15 years ago today, as the nation was reeling from 9/11 attacks, there was a pivotal moment atop the rubble of the World Trade Center. USA's Chris Barnes looks back.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
The morning of September 14th, 2001, bringing what's become known as President George W. Bush's Bullhorn moment.
And the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Former White House correspondent for U.S. News and World Report Kenneth Walsh writes that at that moment, as Bush stood at the ground zero rubble, he had captured the mood of the country and showed gratitude to rescue workers, defiance towards the terrorists, and the determination to protect the U.S. homeland. For USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
Tropical storm Julia could be a big-time rainmaker for Georgia and the South Carolina coastlines. This is USA Radio News.
Love sports articles but don't have time to search the web looking for the most compelling stories? Then US Sports Pages is for you. Why spend hours going to multiple sites looking to find sports articles when we can do the work for you? Our producers go through every newspaper in the country and pick out the best sports articles separated by sport, dramatically reducing your prep time. We also include sports and entertainment kicker stories. USSportsPages.com is the only site you'll need to get your sports fix. Check us out today. The daily links at USSportsPages.com.
More than 20%.
It's Jeff Cruere, sales manager for WGSO. I'd like to introduce our general manager, Richard Tate.
WGSO is locally owned and operated right here in New Orleans. We believe in helping our local businesses succeed. Are you tired of facing the outrageous advertising rates of our competitors and looking to promote your business? If so, we have some attractive sales packages available.
Thanks, Richard. Folks, take advantage of this great offer. Email me at jeff@WGSO.com or call me at 504-669-6076. Let us advertise your business on WGSO.
No threat in the tropics. We do have Julia off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. Rain chance tonight dropping off. Coming back, some rain chance yet tomorrow, but high pressure still governing the weather. And mostly late afternoon, if any, thunderstorm activity, about 40% for tomorrow. Might notice a bit more cloud cover. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the afternoon of the 80s to near 90. It's about 20% tomorrow night. Friday into the weekend, about a 50-50 chance of thunderstorm activity. The 43rd Annual Broadmoor High Festival. Handcrafted items like original paintings, wheel-thrown pottery, wood carvings, toy furniture, lawn creations, cypress swings, ceramics, jewelry, and much more. Santa will be the special guest. Admission is $3 per person. Friday, November 18th, 4 to 9 p.m. Saturday, November 19th, 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. at Broadmoor High, Goodwood Boulevard, Baton Rouge. Vendor space is still available, but don't wait. Vendor space will go fast. Call 225-926-1420. Ralph Sanji, WGSO.
It's the Battle of New Orleans! Radio! Bringing truth to your eardrum!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Listen to Battle of New Orleans Radio. Look, we're going to stay on topic. We got 1 hour left with Dr. Jim Fetzer. Let's stay on topic. Let's talk about 9/11.
Listen, I'll tell you, I hate to violate that constraint, but USA Today has just published an article. The internet thinks Hillary Clinton has a body double.
See, look, the Times of India published a story. The Daily Mail questioned it.
And the UN plans to take over the internet October 1st. And it's also the Jubilee year, October 2nd, if you have any money in the stock market.
It's very strange. What does this transition to the UN actually entail? Let me add one more thing about a story we just heard. Russia is not hacking into the U.S. election. That is a complete absurdity. They're faking it so they can have Homeland Security take over the election and rig it for Hillary.
Right.
If she survives.
It appears not to be cooperating, however, if, as I believe, she's actually dropped dead.
Yeah.
And it could very well be a distraction, though. We've been talking for weeks on this show, Dr. Fetzer, that the UN plans to take over the internet October 1st, the Jubilee year, the stock market crash between now and October 2nd. Again, if our listeners have any money in this New York Stock Exchange, I mean, you really got to go get as liquid as possible. I know it's a fiat currency, but you got to pull it out now. Yeah. Take the hit. Take the penalty that they put on you. Pull it out.
I don't myself tell people what to do, but I can sure tell you that the rumors of Russia hacking our election are complete rubbish, absolutely totally
They're demonizing Putin. Putin's anti-New World Order.
You know, the Hillary people are knocking people off. You know, Julian Assange's attorney winds up in front of a subway in London. Do you know that the attorney who served the DNC with their lawsuit is dead?
John Rich.
Seth Rich, who was the guy who seems to have provided Assange with all the emails showing how the DNC was sabotaging Bernie Sanders' campaign, was shot in the back twice.
John Ash.
I'm telling you, this is serious SH5.
Well, I think we need to be more focused on Colin Kaepernick right now and football starting out, because I just started my fantasy football league. So, no, I'm just joking. That was actually the point.
You know, why I got into a big row with like 75 veterans online because they were going after him hammer and tongs. And I said, look, This guy has the right to protest any way he wants. I mean, he's not trying to burn down the country. He's simply sitting because he thinks the country hasn't been living up to its ideals.
Yeah, well, the Zio media focused on the fact that that certain part of his story. They didn't bring up the fact that he was saying Hillary was a crook and that anyone else would be in jail with this much.
Was he saying that too?
Yeah, go look it up.
Oh,
Colin Kaepernick
wow.
said all that, but that was never promoted in the mass media. You know, they just.
I think we demonize him for just sitting because he doesn't think the U.S. is living up to its principles.
I don't want to stand up for this. I don't want to stand up for this dual citizen.
You have so many unarmed black men are being shot to death by police.
Yeah, police state, but that's affecting whites and blacks. So I agree. The police state is here, and they are killing citizens.
All right, look.
Yeah, Kaepernick, I think, was protesting by remaining sitting during the playing of the national anthem. That the police had gone completely out of control.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, let's try to ring this back in. Let's I know I said it all the time,
guys.
I know I can't help it.
What happened to Tower 7? I want to know.
Yeah, let's.
Let me get a short take. All right, we were told that 19 Islamic hijackers commandeered 4 commercial carriers.
Box cutters.
Yeah, they use box cutters to do all that, right?
And caused them to crash. One crashed in Shanksville, another hit the Pentagon.
All right, we got some Arabian stock boys from the grocery store. Okay, got it so far.
In a cave off in Afghanistan. Okay. Now it turns out that 2 of those planes weren't even in the air that day. Gerard Holmgren, who is an Australian blues musician, noticed that the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, which records every takeoff and landing of every aircraft in the United States, had no entry for Flight 11, North Tower, or for Flight 77, the Pentagon, for that day. They were not even in the air. In addition, pilots for 9/11 Truth, on the basis of their study of air-ground communications, have been able to establish that Flight 93 was over Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, after it had purportedly crashed in Shanksville, and that Flight 175 was over Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, long after it had officially hit the South Tower. I went further and obtained the Federal Aviation Administration records for the decommissioning or deregistering of the planes that were used for those 2 flights, bearing in mind that the same plane can be used for many different flights today, from Charlottesville to Richmond, Virginia, tomorrow from New York to L.A. And it turns out that the planes that were used for those 2 flights were not deregistered until 28 September 2005. So how can planes that were not even in the air have crashed on 9/11, and how can planes that crashed on 9/11 have still been in the air 4 years later? What this means is the whole thing is an enormous fraud, a scam. David Ray Griffin even makes as the very first point of his magisterial book, the 9/11 Commission Report, Omissions and Distortions, that 6 or 7 of these guys turned up alive and well the following day and made contact with the British media. Well, if they were alive and well the following day, they weren't aboard the planes, they didn't cause them to crash, and since we know none of the planes did crash, no passengers aboard those planes died in crashes that did not take place. There were no suicide hijackers who caused planes that did not crash to crash, and the whole war on terror is predicated on a false proposition, a myth, a story we've been told that is provably false.
Well, Jim, you look at Dov Zakim's connection with the flight termination system, and that whole deal. I know Wayne Matson was doing a story connecting with those CIA planes in that boneyard in Arizona, I believe it was, where they're saying maybe some of the planes or plane parts were used from that boneyard, and that they.
Listen, they originally wanted to use remotely controlled aircraft to hit the Twin Towers, but it turns out the design of the Twin Towers is so rigorous that it would have been impossible for any real plane to enter those buildings and get all the way inside before it exploded. In the case of the North Tower, the plane, Flight 11 allegedly, but we know it's not, was intersecting with 7 floors, Flight 175 in the South Tower with 8 floors. Each floor consisted of a steel truss filled with 4 to 8 inches of concrete. The variance being because the trusses had V-shaped roofs that were 4 inches deep. So in some places, the concrete was 4, and others it tapered up to be as much as 8 inches. Because the buildings are 208 feet on a side, we're talking about each floor represents an acre of concrete on a steel truss.
Wow.
Now, they were connected at one end to the core columns and at the other to the external steel support columns, which were quite massive themselves. Any real plane that had intersected with 8 floors of steel trusses, of concrete on steel trusses would have crumpled external to the building. Body seats, luggage would have fallen to the ground. The engines might have entered, but most of the plane not. In fact, the friction would have caused them to explode outside the building. We have photographs of the ground, beneath the facades, of the street and the sidewalk. There are no bodies, no seats, no luggage, no wings, no tail. It didn't happen. It wasn't even possible to happen. And when you look at the videos and try to figure out how it was done, that is the challenge. There have been 3 theories about it. One is that it was done with computer-generated images. The second, that it was done with video compositing. And the third, that it was done using sophisticated holograms. Now, if it was done either by CGI or by video compositing, which is adding images in the 17 seconds between the time it's filmed and the time it's broadcast, no one would have seen anything in real time. The only occasion when the images of planes would have shown up would have been in broadcasting. Now, if you believe that there were witnesses who claimed they saw planes in real time, then it cannot have been done with CGI or with video compositing, which only leaves one alternative. It sounds far-fetched, but Richard Hall from the UK put together what he calls his Flight 175 3D radar study. He did it in the following way. He discovered that 27 of the 52 videos we have of Flight 175 were sufficiently precise that he could plot the location of the plane at specific times as it approached the South Tower. He discovered subsequently NIST had similar plots that they claimed were based on radar data, but it didn't look to him like that radar data was legit. He subsequently discovered there was radar data, and when he compared it with his plots, he was astonished to discover it was for a plane that was 1,200 feet to the side of his plots, which led him to conjecture very reasonably that what was captured on radar was the real plane, which was projecting a holographic image of this other plane. It was actually flying faster than is aerodynamically possible for a 767 to keep the integrity of the image as it moved toward the South Tower, and it just flew by it, which is why the plane just disappears into the building with no collision effects. We've done a frame-by-frame study of both the Hezarkhani and the Evan Fairbanks videos, and the plane passes its entire length into the building in the same number of frames it passes through its entire length in air, which is simply absurd in a massive 500,000-ton building. Provides no more resistance to the trajectory of an aluminum aircraft in flight than air.
Hey, Dr. Fetzer, I worked on crew boats in the oil field, so I'm very familiar with aluminum vessels. I've been in crashes on crew boats, and I've seen what they do. They just fold up. If a plane hit that massive structure, it would have just disintegrated it. It wouldn't have went into that building. There's no way in hell. And if any,
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. You're on top of it.
Right.
So we've been faked. We have been completely faked out of our jocks on 9/11.
No doubt. Look, we're coming to a break. Look, we got Dr. Fetzer for another 45 minutes. If you dispute anything we're saying and you're still denying the truth,
call us up with your truth.
Yeah, that's right. Call us up with your perception of the truth. But, people call us Holocaust deniers. I'm calling you a truth denier.
We'll be right back. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
Ooh-wee. Hey, David, that smell good. What you eating on?
Man, I'm eating on some shrimp I got from J&N Big Easy Seafood.
Man, I had to get me some of that.
Yeah, bro, they specialize in the delivery, catering of 20 pounds or more boiled or live shrimp, crawfish, catfish, crabs, frog legs, and much more.
And how do I get in touch with J&N's Big Easy Seafood?
Just call them up. Call 985-640-8822. That's 985-640-8822. As the corporate media dies, MetroNail.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
Whether you're in the real estate market to buy, sell, lease, or looking for someone just to manage your properties, look no further than Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties. She has 34 years experience and is an expert of all of the latest programs available to homeowners. She has been my trusted realtor for years now. So please call Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties at 504-858-9293. That's 504-858-9293. Renovations your way. They renovate to fit your needs with complete customer service from start to finish that goes way beyond the job. With over 20 years experience, and they are fully insured, and they support the Battle of New Orleans Radio to unite the metro area in the fight for liberty.
Visit us on the web at renovationsyourway.com or call me, Daniel, at 985-402-5916. That's 985-402-5916. renovationsyourway.com. Mention you heard about us on Battle of New Orleans Radio and receive a 10% discount.
Does your house have a clogged up toilet, faulty electrical wires, or AC or heater just isn't blowing properly? Well, call Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. Also specializes in new construction and covers the whole New Orleans metro area. So please, call our friend Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. That's 985-781-0418.
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Listen to Battle of New Orleans Radio right here, 990 AM WGSO, the home of the First Amendment. Hey, Rudy Borkovich from the New Orleans Levy. I know you got into my co-host Goyam on the internet, and you think you're intellectually superior, but I think you're a mental midget. So if you want to call up and debate us and dispute anything we say, but you won't because you're a coward. All right, look, we got on line 2, we got JD calling in to speak with Jim Fetzer. Go ahead, JD.
Hey, am I on right now?
Yeah.
All right. What I wanted to say is I was looking up an article here. It's on this website called Sitka, and there's this fella named Jim Eugenio and Lisa Peace says that Jim Fetzer is off the mark on this 9/11 stuff.
Yeah.
I want to know what he wanted to say about it.
That article says I'm off the mark about everything. I did a 7-hour response to that article, which is frankly a piece of junk. They have nothing right about me at all. They didn't have my position right. The criticisms were wrong. It was worthless. It's a piece of propaganda. Now, if you want to check it out, go to Gary King YouTube channel, and you'll find the 7-part reply to Jim DiEugenio and Lisa Peace, okay? That was complete garbage.
I will say, go ahead, Jim. I will. Go ahead, JD.
I want to say that I'm glad you're going to my website there, Dr. Fetzer. I had to play a joke on you, so.
You pranked him.
Yeah, that was that.
You got God, bud. You got God.
Hey, Gary, you sounded like a country coon ass there. You was mixed up.
A real redneck guy.
Mississippi and raised in Louisiana, so what else can I say? So, look, you guys are taking too much butt. I'm going to let y'all get back to it.
Hold up, JD. You know, you bring up that website. I will say they do have a great article on that website, though. I will say about Ed Butler. What do you think about that? You ever read that article?
Well, I have, and we're going to be doing a couple of JFK shows on Ed Butler. He's kind of goes under the radar sometimes, but I think he's really working. I mean, really worth looking at. And not only that, your boss was hired by Ed Butler, who graduated from Vanderbilt. So
Are
there
you
you
serious?
go.
Now, listen,
I didn't know that.
So all our listeners are a little bit confused. We've been having what we would consider some unusual entities, some orbs coming into the facility, Dr. Fetzer, the last 6 weeks. Nathan, we talked about it. Now we got rid of them. Well, I don't know if they were InfoGuard or FBI informants. Look, our show brings up things you're not going to hear on other shows. We allow our First Amendment right to be exercised. We're not sitting on the couch watching American Idol tonight, okay? We're out here after work doing this thing. But keep in mind, people possibly might be coming to shut us down. So if we do disappear, just letting you guys know who are our listening base. We have an InfoGuard infiltration possibly. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah. Well, Goyim and I will never kill ourselves. We'll never murder our families.
Bro. I'm beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? So if any of that happens, you know, and look, New Orleans is a CIA, FBI hotbed. You know, you go in with Tulane. Tulane is a CIA recruiting ground, and the whole deal is just front and center. New Orleans is a globalist hotbed. So if we get up here and we talk about Zionists, and we talk about, Mitch Landrieu being a globalist whore.
Parkometers.
You know what I'm saying? Look, weird things can happen. But look, that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to it, Jim. Let's get into 9/11. Go ahead, brother.
What happened with
9/11? What else you need to understand is how the buildings were destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
The alleged no planes hit the buildings. Okay, they had to fake it. And they appear to have done it using sophisticated holograms. I have subsequently obtained a copy from an Australian military manual of an airborne holographic projector showing the plane doing exactly what appears to have been done on 9/11.
Okay, holo. Wait, hold up, holo. Okay, why does every word that's fake have to start with holo? Why does everything that's fake have to start with holo? No, it's just a little joke. Continue.
Now, the deal here is they had a temporal consideration. This is another reason they had to fake it. Pilots for 9/11 Truth tried to simulate hits on these 208 feet wide buildings at around 400 miles an hour, which, by the way, is faster than a 767 could fly at that altitude. They used, by mistake, the cruising speed of a 767 at 35,000 feet, where the air is only 1/3 as dense, and projected it as the speed at 700 to 1,000 feet, where the plane at that speed would physically come apart. Pilots for 9/11 Truth has documented this. So the plane in the videos isn't even traveling at aerodynamically possible speed. Now, pilots tried to simulate it, and they found it was extremely difficult to hit a 208-foot wide building, okay? They tried like 20 times. They were able to do it once. So what the perps had to do to guarantee they get the results, since it wouldn't do to have one of these planes circling around again and again to try to hit a 208-foot wide building, is they had to coordinate the hit. They had to have it under complete control, which is why the holograms work so well. And they had to coordinate it in time with explosions that were being set off in the sub-basements of the North and the South Tower.
And you could see those explosions going off.
Well, these explosions, mind you, were coordinated to be at the same time when the planes purportedly hit the buildings, because they were going to explain the explosions by jet fuel falling through the elevator shafts and exploding in the sub-basements. But if you understand the design of the Twin Towers, you'd go down 30 floors and you'd have to get off and go down 30 floors. You have to get off and go down 30 floors. There were only a few elevators that went all the way from the top to the bottom, principally maintenance. And Willie Rodriguez, who was a senior custodian in the North Tower, who reported the explosion in the North Tower, came to Madison and gave a talk. And afterwards, he and I went to dinner, and he explained how he watched the sub-basements fill up with water, which is when I realized that one of the principal, maybe not the only reasons for those explosions, was to drain the sprinkler systems of water so they couldn't extinguish the very modest fires that remained after these spectacular fireballs, which had to be with pre-positioned either jet fuel or napalm were set off.
Great point, Jim. Look, we're coming to a break. Look, we got about 30 minutes left with Dr. Fetzer. Man, great information, man. Please tune in. Battle of New Orleans Radio. We'll be right back.
If you just a kid, if you 100 or you 22, age is nothing but a number. I am above none of you. I am like a father, brother, husband, or a son to you. I believe if we unite, we'll see our dreams coming true. Rise is what we gonna do. Fight until we broken. My eyes are wide open. I'm focused on helping the hopeless. The media can quote this. Tell them that Diesel said it. It's power to the people. You better never forget it. With our eyes wide, we gon' keep our eyes wide.
Hi, New Orleans. It's Laura from Sobu, and I'm here with Chef Juan Carlos.
Sobu's got Happier Hour. It's 3 to 6 from 3 to 6.
It's bar sips and snacks, all for $3 to $6 from 3 to 6 p.m. every day.
Laura's got something to please everyone at the bar for Happier Hour, all for 3 to 6 here at Sobu.
And we know you'll want to try a smoky pulled pork taco or any of the other delicious snacks on our Happier Hour menu.
Sobu's Happier Hour every day from 3 to 6, 310 Charter Street in the Quarter.
Complimentary parking next door at the W Hotel.
This is David Duplantier, Dean of Christ Church Cathedral, between 6th and 7th on St. Charles Avenue, inviting you to join us in celebrating Sundays at the Cathedral. 7:30 a.m. in the chapel, 10 a.m. a choral Eucharist in the Cathedral, and 6 p.m. a service called Real Presence that invites the worshiper to enter into the mystery of God by reflection, prayer, and celebration of the Holy Eucharist. For more information, look at our website, cccnola.org.
This advertisement does not constitute an offer to sell a franchise. The offer of a franchise can only be made through the delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Fresh Healthy Vending is a new company that is revolutionizing the vending machine business by filling them with healthy and natural foods. That's right. Protein and energy drinks, teas and juices, yogurts, fresh fruits and veggies, soy milk, natural cereals, granola bars. Can you imagine that? It's like having a whole food store in a machine. And you can get in on the ground floor by getting your own Fresh Healthy Vending franchise. You can have your own small business placing healthy food vending machines all over your area in places like schools and hospitals and businesses and airports and other high traffic areas. Locations that embrace the idea because, you know, they make money too. Full training and support and assistance in acquiring locations. It's all about timing, folks. Pick up the phone, make the call to Fresh Healthy Vending, and get all the details on what could be your big life moment. Get Fresh Healthy Vending franchise information now. Call 800-424-8282. 424-8282. That's 800-424-8282.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Halen Doty. The massive flooding not only displaced thousands of families, but also ruined hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crops. Don Molino has more.
Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, says agriculture is a $13 billion industry in the state, and many farmers are really hurting, with nearly 30 parishes affected by the historic flooding.
So we're fully expecting this to reach $150, maybe $200 million if the rain stops now.
Strain says some farmers might have crop insurance to cover their losses, but not every commodity or parish is eligible. He says soybeans, rice, and livestock were severely devastated by the flooding. I'm Don Molino.
A New Orleans police officer was killed this morning when he was hit by a car and thrown off a 40-foot overpass. Investigators say 45-year-old Tony Mitchell's car stalled and he was standing next to the vehicle directing traffic. Another car stopped to get into the other lane when it was rear-ended into Mitchell, pushing the car into him and launching him off the elevated roadway. Louisiana Radio Network.
This is Don Molino speaking for the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. There are plenty of reasons to grill beef this Labor Day weekend. Your friends and family will love the delicious taste of beef. It's a great source of protein, and there are several cuts of lean beef with less than 10 grams of fat per serving. Whether you grill it, smoke it, or use an old family recipe, there are lots of ways to enjoy beef with your friends and family over the Labor Day weekend and all summer. So remember, beef, it's what's for dinner. Brought to you by Louisiana cattle producers through the Louisiana Beef Industry Council and the Beef Checkoff.
This is Trace Atkins for the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. Believe it or not, your food doesn't come from the grocery store. It just may have been grown on a farm right here in Louisiana. And those jeans you're wearing may have come from a Louisiana cotton farm. Louisiana's farmers and ranchers take pride in producing the food and fiber that we all use in our daily lives. So each time you sit down to a meal or get dressed for the day, thank a Louisiana farmer or rancher. The Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of Louisiana
This is
agriculture.
Jeff Cruier with my commentary of the day. So Hillary Clinton has just made a very very damaging statement to her campaign, calling half of Donald Trump's supporters part of a, quote, basket of deplorables, categorizing millions of Americans as racists and homophobes and Islamophobes. Trump may get 70 million votes in the fall, so she's basically making that claim about 35 million Americans. No wonder she apologized. You know who's really deplorable? Bill and Hillary Clinton. Deplorable for their lying, deplorable for their abuse of women, Bill for his philandering and sexual misconduct, and Hillary for attacking the women that came forward. It's deplorable that they haven't helped African Americans, deplorable that they've used minorities for political support but done nothing for them, deplorable that they've taken money from regimes who mistreat gays and women, and it's deplorable that she's even a candidate for office and not in prison. More info on this and the other hot topics of the day, check out ringsidepolitics.com.
Hey New Orleans, this is Sue May with the Cannon Hospice Health Hour. Join us to get the latest and most up-to-date health information here on WGSO.
Saturdays at 12 noon.
This is David Jeremiah inviting you to join me here on Talk Radio 990 every weekday at either 5:30 or 6:30 a.m.
What does grace mean to you? For us, it means in 2 years, Grace at the Green Light, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, has served over 40,000 meals and distributed 60,000 bottles of water to the homeless here in New Orleans. Grace at the Green Light would like to thank First NBC Bank for sponsoring this week and making a difference in New Orleans. First NBC Bank, now with 39 locations in Southeast Louisiana and Florida.
Hi, I'm Rob Clemens with saintsforsinners.com. Tune in at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings for our radio show on WGSO Radio.
History has shown your genetic disease, you're parasitical prone, you could never be pleased. Everywhere you've gone, you've been treated for fleas. It's time to delouse the house, we don't need none of these. Arming themselves to the teeth while taking Americans' guns, and all the time they having so much fun. Just take a look what they done, just take a look, just take a motherfucking look what they done. They took the gold from Gaddafi and the petrol.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. You're listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio right here, 990 AM WGSO in the heart of the Crescent City. Dr. Jim Fetzer on the line with us. We're discussing 9/11 and all the inconsistencies. Doctor, I want to bring up the fact that these pilots, quote-unquote pilots, who were trained on American bases, could not fly these planes. They sucked. They were crappy pilots. There's no way they could maneuver these planes to make these maneuvers. And at the Pentagon, there was not one blade of grass that was touched by the plane, which is impossible for a 767 to come in that trajectory and not even mess up one blade of grass. It's impossible. And then I want to say that the Pentagon, the most secure building on the planet, you're not going to have one damn video. And the video they released 6 months later, you can't even tell what it is, and it looks like it's a missile. Man, get out of Dodge. What you got, Doc? What you got, Dr. Fetzer?
Yeah, you're right about those points, although the 767s were used in New York.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
757s.
My fault.
But when it turns out the official approach where you have a 757 barely skimming the ground at over 400 miles an hour, taking out a series of stationary lampposts isn't even aerodynamically or physically possible. I had an aeronautical engineer contribute a chapter to the book in which he demonstrated that because of the laws of aerodynamics involving what's called downdraft or sometimes ground effect, that plane, the 767, at that speed could not have got closer than 60 or even 80 feet to the ground, where 80 feet is higher than the Pentagon is tall. Moreover, had a plane traveling that fast taken out a series of stationary lampposts, it would have been the same effect as if the plane had been stationary and was hit by lampposts flying over 400 miles an hour. Would have ripped open the wings, the jet fuel stored there would have mixed with oxygen, burst into flame, cartwheeled across the lawn, and made a terrible mess. As you observe, the photographs for the first 20 or minutes or so show only a completely clear, green, unblemished lawn, excuse me.
God bless you.
Yeah, the debris only starts showing up later. My favorite photograph is of the two civilian lime green fire trucks, which just happened to be in the vicinity. and putting out the very modest fires that remain. And there's otherwise just a completely open, clear green lawn. Now, if you take a close-up of the hit point, it's only about 10 feet high and 16 or 17 feet wide. There's a chain link fence, a couple automobiles, some enormous spools of cable, unbroken windows around the hit point, but there is no massive pile of debris from a 100-ton airliner, no wings, no tail, no bodies, no seats, no luggage. Not even the engines were recovered from the Pentagon. Although years later, they now claim they found them, but it's ridiculous. It's complete fraud.
Hey, Jim, they found. I'm sorry, Jim. They found passports though.
Not the Pentagon.
I know. I'm talking.
I know. Look, Jamie McIntyre from CNN was right there on the scene when he was asked by the anchor about the plane having hit the building. He said, "Well, you might think that, but from my close-up inspection, there's no sign of any plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon."
Yeah.
Now, because he reported that on national TV, they put him on pressure on him to retract it, and he did that in the following way. He said later, "Only a fool would deny that a plane had hit the Pentagon," meaning he'd been foolish to assert the truth, which was that no plane had hit the Pentagon. He subsequently retired from the news, even though he was like the best reporter they had at CNN. April Gallup, who was a civilian employee at the Pentagon, said that there was a huge explosion when she turned on her computer. She had her little infant son with her that day. She walked out of an enormous hole in the front of the Pentagon and saw no sign of any aircraft anywhere. No plane hit the Pentagon. And the official account isn't even aerodynamically or physically possible. I mean, it's that bad. Now, we do have the story from Norman Mineta, who was in a bunker underneath the White House, where Dick Cheney appears to have been running the whole operation that day. That an aide came up to Cheney and said, "Sir, it's 50 miles out." Came back and said, "Sir, it's 40 miles out." Came back and said, "Sir, it's 30 miles out. Does the order still stand?" And Cheney got up, whipped his head around, and said, "Of course the order still stands. Have you heard anything to the contrary?" The order had to be to not shoot down the plane. If you're using planes as weapons, then the obvious thing to do is to shoot down the plane, because then you get the passengers and the plane, but you don't lose the target, the personnel and property at the target. The plane was allowed to proceed to the Pentagon. It had to be emitting a friendly transponder, otherwise it would have been shot down. The Pentagon must be the most heavily defended building in the world. And it flew toward and then swerved over the Pentagon at the same time explosions were set off. So that the trucker buddy of a friend of mine from JFK Research, the friend being Roy Schaefer, had his buddy Dave Ball, who was right in front of the Pentagon. Dave told Roy that he watched as a big plane flew toward the Pentagon and then flew right over it. Roy said to me he couldn't understand why Dave watched it fly over, but he still thought a plane had hit the Pentagon. And I asked Roy if Dave would let me interview him. And he went back, and Dave was reluctant. And I said to Roy, I said, "Please explain to Dave that it'd be much safer if he gives me an interview, because then what he's got to say is out there." And Roy went back to check, and he was found dead in an abandoned building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like Building 7. We had this guy, Barry Jennings, from the New York City Emergency Management, went to Building 7 because Rudy Giuliani had a command and control center with its own water and air system, and found half-eaten sandwiches and still steaming cups of coffee. A fireman came along and said, "We got to get you out of there." All these explosions were taking place while he was inside the building. A stairwell was blown out from under him. At one point, he felt himself stepping over dead bodies. In the pitch blackness, he couldn't see them, but he could feel them. When he got out, he gave an interview about what he'd all gone through. You can still find it online. Barry Jennings.
Yep.
Now, the 9/11 Commission report didn't even mention Building 7. So when the critics pointed this out, the NIST undertook an independent investigation, which was perfectly ridiculous. Building 7 came down in a classic controlled demolition. All the floors came down at the same time. They'd blown all the support columns, and there was a typical pile of debris, which is equal to 12% of the height of the original 47 floors, or 5.5 floors. That's what we know from controlled demolitions of all kinds of structures. So the NIST came up with a ridiculous report that it had been done because of these fires, which was preposterous. Would you believe Barry Jennings, who would have, on the basis of his own personal direct experience, been able to contradict the report, was found dead mysteriously just a couple of days before its publication?
Wow. Yep. Yeah. When we come back from the break here, and if, we're not going to the break yet, but when we do, I'm gonna play that 30 seconds of Mineta saying that, the way the people, the listeners can hear it for themselves. It's not long; it's about a 30-second clip. I mean, it's just everything. It's just holes in the whole story. It's just so vast. I mean, if you still believe this narrative that the mainstream media and establishment and the politicians peddle, you're not looking at the information, period. It's so vast. I mean, look, Jim, not only for me, one of the biggest smoking guns for 9/11 is the PNAC document that talks about needing a new Pearl Harbor. The name of the document was Rebuilding America's Defenses, and it was released a year before 9/11, and they said they needed the new Pearl Harbor. Well, what do you get? You get the new Pearl Harbor. And then you look at the Pentagon. They just reinforced that area where that they got hit. They moved all the budget analysts and bookkeepers, the ones that could follow the money that, Mr. Dual Citizen, foreign citizen there at Double-Zionism-9, lost. And then he lost 2.3 trillion. He didn't lose it, but, it probably went to various media outlets, and it went to funding this whole war on terror, $2.3 trillion. And then 2004, there was another $2 trillion under his own watch. Jim, why do we have a foreign citizen running the money in the books for the Pentagon?
Well, the very first political speech I ever gave was at a Ron Paul Freedom Rally in Washington, D.C. on the grass in front of the Capitol. It was 15 April, tax day, 2008. And I denounced the fact that we had dual citizens in decision-making and policy-shaping positions, because how could anyone know that their loyalty to the other state did not outweigh their loyalty to the United States? And it turned out that all these people who are in PNAC, who are dual U.S. Israeli citizens, went into the Department of Defense and helped us set up 9/11.
Yep. Our friend Scott Bennett, he worked under Double-Zionism-9. He knew him personally. He really crystallizes all this. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to a break. We got 1 or 2 segments left with Mr. Fetzer. Man, great information, great knowledge. Please go support him. Go to Moonrock Books, buy some of his books. I plan on getting that 9/11 book.
Call up if you have a question for Dr. Fetzer, 504-556-9696. We'll be right back. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
Ooh-wee. Hey, David, that smell good. What you eating on?
Man, I'm eating on some shrimp I got from J&N Big Easy Seafood.
Man, I had to get me some of that.
Yeah, bro, they specialize in the delivery, catering of 20 pounds or more boiled or live shrimp, crawfish, catfish, crabs, frog legs, and much more.
And how do I get in touch with J&N's Big Easy Seafood?
Just call them up. Call 985-640-8822. That's 985-640-8822.
Whether you're in the real estate market to buy, sell, lease, or looking for someone just to manage your properties, look no further than Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties. She has 34 years experience and is an expert of all of the latest programs available to homeowners. She has been my trusted realtor for years now. So please call Paula Bourne with Plantation Properties at 504-858-9293. That's 504-858-9293. Renovations your way. They renovate to fit your needs with complete customer service from start to finish that goes way beyond the job. With over 20 years experience, and they are fully insured, and they support the Battle of New Orleans Radio to unite the metro area in the fight for liberty.
Visit us on the web at renovationsyourway.com or call me, Daniel, at 985-402-5916. That's 985-402-5916. Renovationsyourway.com. Mention you heard about us on Battle of New Orleans Radio and receive a 10% discount.
Does your house have a clogged up toilet, faulty electrical wires, or AC or heater just isn't blowing properly? Well, call Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. Also specializes in new construction and covers the whole New Orleans metro area. So please, call our friend Herman with Superior AC, Electrical, and Plumbing at 985-781-0418. That's 985-781-0418.
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com.
Hello, this is Coach Alan DeRitter, your host for Monday Night Football, your voice for youth soccer, 5 years now and running on WGSO. I'm also the head boys soccer coach at De La Salle High School in New Orleans. These are exciting times on the Avenue. Our head football coach, Ron Manelli, won Coach of the Year. Our wrestling team took the state championship. Our basketball team are undefeated district champs. And our band director, Duncan Prey, was named Band Director of the Year. Curious why? We'll schedule your spend a day at DelaSalleNola.com or call us at 504-895-5717.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Battle of New Orleans Radio. I want to play this clip of Norman Mineta testifying about Dick Cheney on 9/11. It's about 40 seconds. Bear with us, please. Please listen.
It's not. I was made aware of it during the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon. There was a young man who would come in and say to the vice president, the plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the vice president, do the orders still stand? And the vice president turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? Well, at the time, I didn't know what all that meant. And
the flight you're referring to is the
flight that came into the Pentagon.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the clip. Mr. Norman Mineta.
A boy from San Jose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's
exactly. And listen, the thing is, it's right there on CNN. I mean, C-SPAN on YouTube. You can go check it out yourself and see it. It's being said right there on the mass media, C-SPAN right there.
He's basically saying Cheney was running. They could have shot those planes down, and Cheney said no. Cheney was basically running that from the bunker, and he allowed that to happen. Now, go ahead, Dr. Fetzer.
Well, just remember, this plane was just a prop.
Well,
They
yeah.
used it so people would see a big plane flying toward the Pentagon. It wasn't hitting the Pentagon. No plane hit the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
It was just a prop.
Absolutely.
In fact, remember, I explained Flight 77 wasn't even scheduled that day. No Flight 77 was in the air. Flight 11 wasn't even scheduled that day. There was no Flight 11 in the air that day. And the other two, as I explained, 93 and 175 were not only in the air that day, but they were in Illinois in the case of Flight 93 over Champaign-Urbana after it had officially crashed. They were over, and it was over Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, long after it had officially hit the South Tower. And the Federal Aviation Administration records show those planes, the planes used for those flights, weren't actually taken out of service until 28 September 2005, 4 years later.
Wow. But and also they just ran a drill as well, simulating the same attacks. You know, we always see, Dr. Fetzer, when they run these false flags, they're always running a drill at the same time.
Yeah. Well, Condoleezza Rice said that no one had ever thought of using airplanes as weapons, and yet they'd had a drill at the Pentagon simulating an attack by an airplane. Guess what? It was a 757.
Yeah, well, Operation Northwoods, they talk about it. They talk about this in the 60s.
Well, that's true. They talked about faking a lot of things. They talked about getting a bunch of college kids on a plane and flying it over Cuba and then shooting it down. and blaming it on Castro. But the fact is, in the fine print, it said they'd stop and offload the kids and replace them with dummies. But can you imagine one of these dummies turning up in Cuba or one of the kids alive in the United States? JFK shot down all their proposals. He had, as I recall, William Westmoreland, who was vetting them for him, and he was disapproving them.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. I mean, earlier you mentioned the, 6 or 7 of the hijackers actually contacting, the following days, some of the British media, I believe it was. Muhammad, right. I believe Muhammad Atta's father, and Muhammad Atta, he was still alive afterwards. They had pictures of him, man.
That's right. Muhammad Atta's father said he'd heard from his son, who was petrified, but that he had nothing to do with it. That was what Osama said when he was asked about it. He said that he had nothing to do with it, that it was contrary to the tenets of Islam to murder innocent women and children, but that there appeared to be a government within the government that wanted to blame this on Muslims, in which I believe William Jefferson Clinton said something very similar. He said there's a government within the government and I don't control it. That's quoting Bill Clinton.
Well, Jim, you remember when Hillary said she receives her marching orders from the Council on Foreign Relations? I mean, these people, these entities operate right in front of our face that actually control our government and give them their marching orders. Yes,
let me tell you something even more disturbing. There are more emails coming out. And the last batch shows that in relation to the attack on Libya, which was totally unnecessary, Gaddafi wasn't abusing the Libyan people. On the contrary, he was sharing the wealth of Libya with the people, national health care, national public education, national warehouses, stocked with food. If you were hungry, you could go and get all the food you needed. If you had a medical problem that couldn't be dealt with in Libya, he'd fly you and a friend or relative anywhere in the world, all expense paid by the government. But he was also undertaking the Great Waterworks project that would have turned North Africa into a veritable oasis, and the gold dinar. And in now declassified emails, Hillary explains the reasons for attacking Libya had to do with Western banking interests, Rothschilds, upset about the gold dinar, and that France was upset that Gaddafi's influence in Africa was growing, where they wanted to maintain control and keep it as their own neo-colonial preserve. And get this, in the actual directives about what to do about this, they say that Minerva also approved. And it turned out Minerva was a name for the Israeli intelligence operatives who were advising Hillary. So Hillary was allowing Israel to direct our own United States foreign policy.
Of course. Look, Jim. Here's an article in Breitbart. Hack Colin Powell email: Bohemian Grove attendees will vote against Trump. Some support third-party candidate.
Well, it's the establishment. Trump's going to upend everything. That's why there's such a massive attempt to oppose him. He is the anti-establishment. So you got the powerful entrenched interests on both sides of the aisle, both in the Republican Party and in the Democratic, who are opposed to Trump because he's going to end their gravy train of no-bid contracts, of endless barrels of money.
Helicopter money.
Out of the pockets of the American taxpayer into their own. For example, Cheney and Bush privatized much of the military. For example, logistics, which is simply absurd. As a former Marine Corps officer, a military unit has to be self-contained. They farmed out the logistics to Halliburton, who was then responsible for running the mess halls, the showers, and all that. They did a shoddy job, and a lot of officers and men were electrocuted. So what are you going to do? Is the commanding officer going to have to sue Halliburton in the middle of a war in order to get these things fixed? I mean, it was a stupid idea, but Cheney promoted it because it made Halliburton, which he had formerly run as chief executive officer, a lot of money. That's what's going on with these people. They're betraying the American people because it makes them rich.
Hey, listen, we only got about a minute. Dr. Fetzer, we only got about a minute there. Phil, the pager, we couldn't take your call there. Meet up with us tomorrow at 1700 Conti Street. Phil, Richie, Christian Unity Church to help us resist the Take 'em Down NOLA, the monument takedown. But go ahead.
Hey, Dr. Fetzer, please plug anything you want to real quick.
Well, the Midwest 9/11 conference is at jamesfetzer.blogspot.com. And the book's not only about 9/11, Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing, the moon landing and all that is at moonrockabooks.com.
Yeah. Absolutely. Appreciate it, Dr. Fetzer, man. It's great, man. Great show, man. Great information. Please support them and please support us. Battle of New Orleans Radio. And look, catch us on the Sunday Thomas Show tomorrow night on Resolution Radio at 8:30. You can find the link on Battle of New Orleans Facebook page. Catch y'all next week. God bless.
If we didn't fire muskets till we looked them in the eye, we held our fire till we see their faces well, then we opened up our squirrel guns and really gave them well.